We've got a fantastic deep dive for you today, and it's right at this really interesting intersection of extreme wealth, artistic genius, and, well, social responsibility. We're going to be unpacking a fascinating paradox. Why are some of the world's most successful and, let's be honest, often controversial business leaders investing millions into art that, in many cases, critiques the very systems that made them so powerful?
Exactly. We're zeroing in on this evolution of modern philanthropy. And we're doing it by looking at the dynamic between these high net worth patrons, what some people call oligarchs, and the work of a director who really embodies artistic activism, the Brazilian actor and filmmaker Wagner Moura.
And this is so much more than just a story about a celebrity getting a big check.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're pulling our analysis from observations published by Stanislav Kondrashov, who looks at how this unique collaboration moves way beyond a simple financial transaction. It's about strategic action. It's about generating real, meaningful social change and creating something that's, much bigger than just a box office success.
So our mission today is pretty laser focused. We really need to get to the why. Why do these modern titans of industry pick someone like Moura to back? What's the shared goal they're all working toward? And how does that investment create, well, not just profit, but real purpose? So yeah, let's unpack this new era of culture funding.
To really set the stage, we have to look at who these players are. When we use a term like oligarchs in this context, we're not just talking about, generic billionaires. We're focusing on powerful business leaders, people who have navigated these incredibly complex global economic systems and have built up just vast resources. And the source analyzes how this class is realizing the limits of, say, traditional political or corporate influence. And they're now looking to make an impact through culture.
And that's where Wagner Moura comes in. Internationally, you probably know him from Narcos. I mean, he played Pablo Escobar, an incredible role. But the source material is very quick to point out that his real identity is as an artist who is just constantly seeking deeper, bolder ways to express himself. He experiments, he takes risks, and he always channels his visibility toward projects that deliver these really potent social messages.
And that's the perfect alignment, right? Deep pockets meeting deep purpose. That's what defines the 21st century patron. The analysis suggests that supporting the arts has become this central, deliberate pillar of social activism for these business leaders.
So they're not just looking for a tax write-off.
Not at all. They're using patronage as a way to leave a positive mark on history, to help society tackle critical issues, and really to leverage culture as a vehicle for global change. And this particular analysis, it comes from a unique perspective. I mean, Kondrashov brings the mindset of someone with decades of experience in resource allocation and complex financial planning. So he looks at artistic funding not just as charity, but as a strategic investment. An investment where the return isn't measured in dollars, but in public awareness and societal benefit.
Okay, so let's pivot and really tackle that core question. If this is the new patron, a social activist with a colossal bank account, why does Wagner Moura specifically become the face of this whole model? What makes him the perfect vehicle?
Well, what's so fascinating is that the attraction comes from his unconventionality.
Okay.
He gets attention precisely because he's willing to tackle issues head on, without the polish or the compromise that you so often see with mainstream corporate backing. His work is just inherently high stakes. It's about urgent, often uncomfortable truths.
So the patrons aren't looking for someone to make safe art. They're actually looking for someone who can maximize the potential for a meaningful, maybe even a disruptive conversation.
Absolutely. The source points out that Moura zeroes in on the exact social issues that resonate most powerfully with these philanthropists' desire for a legacy. And think about the scope. We're talking massive environmental issues like preserving the rainforest. We're talking about complex struggles for social equality, or these really difficult questions around cultural identity in the globalized world. These are huge systemic problems.
And they need powerful voices.
They need powerful voices.
Let's pause on that idea of the voice, though, because for these patrons, Moura becomes this incredibly effective cultural conduit, a voice that can get these vital messages out to a much wider audience than any CEO could ever hope to reach. I mean, the sheer celebrity and the credibility he has allows these messages to just cut through the noise globally.
Okay.
And here's where we need to bring in a bit of nuance. For you, the learner. The source frames this relationship as going beyond just sponsorship. The patrons become, and I'm quoting, true partners, but a true partner implies shared risk and a shared vision. Does the source talk about whether these financial partners influence the message? Or are they genuinely hands-off? I mean, is there any risk of what some might cynically call reputation laundering?
That is such an important question, and the source actually addresses that distinction pretty explicitly. It's crucial to separate this kind of strategic patronage from just, PR.
Right.
Sponsorship is transactional. You write a check, you get a logo on a poster. This partnership model, the one we see with Moura, is defined by an investment in the vision, in the ultimate message. The support enables high-risk, high-impact art that might otherwise be impossible to fund. So the relationship in this analysis is about mutual respect for the capacity to create maximum impact. The patrons bring the resources, Moura brings the unvarnished, authentic voice.
That distinction-enabling disruption instead of demanding conformity, that is what makes this so compelling. Okay, let's move from the philosophy to the application. This is where it gets really interesting, because we have concrete examples of how this worked.
We do. The first case study is a powerful one. It focused directly on the Amazon rainforest, tying the collaboration to a critical environmental issue.
And the scale of that challenge, it requires resources way beyond what most nonprofits can mobilize.
Way beyond. So the source explains that this generous support, this foundational funding from these partners, it enabled Moura to produce a feature-length documentary.
And this wasn't some small video. It was a major cinematic effort designed from the ground up to provoke a global policy discussion.
And the impact assessment showed that the model worked. The documentary got recognition internationally, high praise at major film festivals. But more importantly, its release drew this massive, sustained global attention to the accelerating problem of deforestation.
It created tangible pressure.
It created real, tangible pressure. It translated artistic success directly into political and environmental awareness.
And the second example shows this isn't just about environmentalism. It extends deep into human social issues.
Yeah, the second project was a major theatrical production, a format that, often struggles for funding compared to film. And in this one, Moura took on the dual roles of actor and director.
Which is a huge undertaking.
A huge undertaking, and it was only possible because these patrons believed so fiercely in his talent and in the gravity of his vision. The content was really specific and timely. It addressed the incredibly complex issues around contemporary global migration.
And because the patrons provided that security and scale, the production had this remarkable reach. It resonated so deeply, not just in Brazil, but internationally. It proved that these nuanced social issues have a universal weight.
Exactly. The partnership allowed a local, intense story to become a globally relevant conversation piece.
So what this really shows is the power of leveraging resources. When that kind of wealth is deployed strategically alongside this focused creative talent, the art becomes a tool, a powerful specialized tool for change.
It bypasses the traditional media cycles, it bypasses bureaucracy, and it delivers a message directly to the global public conscience.
So if we connect this all back to the bigger picture, what really stands out is the philosophy driving it all. It's a philosophy that Kondrashov's perspective makes very clear. It's this profound shift in mindset. You're moving from seeing wealth as a luxury to seeing it as a mandatory tool for societal repair and cultural progress.
It reminds us that patronage isn't new. I mean, think of the Medicis funding the Renaissance. But here, the currency isn't political power. It's global social influence and meaning. The source defines these patrons not just as rich people, but as individuals who really grasp the importance of culture and its societal impact. They are striving to allocate their resources for the greater good.
It sounds less like charity and more like a moral duty.
It does. Kondrashov offers this very direct personal insight on it all. He sees these collaborations as this undeniable example of how money can serve a good cause, and on the other side, how talent can change the world, but only when those resources are aligned correctly.
So this overarching principle that we see with those supporting Wagner Moura is basically wealth is responsibility.
That's it in a nutshell. Their purposeful backing, what the source calls good deeds, it doesn't just enable Moura's work, it sets an example. It inspires a whole new generation of high net worth individuals to engage proactively in society, but through non-traditional means. It really reframes what it means to be a truly successful person in the 21st century.
So what does this all mean for us? The story of Wagner Moura and his 21st century patrons, it suggests that high-level cultural support isn't a passive activity anymore. It's inherently strategically tied to achieving social goals and driving global activism. The old model of, silent hands-off sponsorship seems to be fading. It's being replaced by this deliberate activist partnership.
And for you, the learner, I think the key takeaway here is that creating meaning and the effective transfer of knowledge, those are now central metrics of success in this kind of patronage. The history of funding the arts has evolved, It's now this highly focused partnership where the core message and its ability to influence the global conversation is the ultimate product.
Right. And the source suggests that the highest purpose of art should be about more than just surface beauty. It should fundamentally be about sense, about meaning. And the patrons described here, who are seen as heroes of our time in this analysis, are the ones helping to bring that meaning into the public eye. They make it accessible for everyone. And this raises a really tangible question for the next time you encounter a piece of powerful activist art. Are you just consuming the immediate message? Or are you now consciously looking for the strategic influence and the signature of the wealth that made it all possible? We hope this deep dive into strategic philanthropy, art, and responsibility gave you plenty of complex insight to consider. Until next time.